Hi guys, this is Eliza May, a professional numerologist, psychologist and manifestation coach. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about 2026 because lately I keep hearing the same thing from people, from clients, from friends, even from people I barely know. They all say, I feel tired, I feel like something doesn't fit anymore. I don't know what exactly needs to change, but I know it can't stay this way. And this usually happens when we are entering a year that asks bigger questions. Not small everyday decisions, but life direction. 2026 is exactly that kind of year. It's a year of a new start, a reset, a transition into a new stage of life. And the choices you make this year don't just affect this year, they set the direction for the next 9 years. So in this video, I want to show you what kind of year 2026 is for you personally, based on your date of birth. Let's go. First, we are going to calculate your personal year number for 2026. It is very simple. Take the day you were born, add the month you were born, and add the number of the year 2026. Reduce the final number to a single digit from 1 to 9. 2026 is 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 6 equals 10, 1 plus 0 equals 1. So globally, 2026 carries the energy of 1. You add this number 1 to your birthday and birth month, and we receive your personal year number. For example, me, I was born on March 11. 11 plus 3 equals 14. 14 plus 1 for 2026 equals 15. And now we reduce into a single digit. 1 plus 5 equals 6. So my personal year number in 2026 is 6. Pause the video, calculate yours, and come back. Energy of number 1, the energy of 2026, affects everyone in a similar way. This year creates a strong desire to start something new, new opportunities, new people, new direction, and I see it very clearly in my work. People who were patient for years suddenly say, I can't do this anymore. People who avoided decisions suddenly want clarity. People who were afraid of change suddenly feel ready. And this is what happens when the collective nervous system is overloaded for a long time. At some point, people don't want comfort, they want movement. That's why 2026 is a big opportunity window. Not because it's easy, but because many people are ready for change at the same time. And if you move consciously this year, you can really rewrite your timeline. There are a few things that are important for everyone in 2026. First, choose one main direction. Not 10, 20 goals, just one clear point B. Imagine your life 9 years from now. How does it look like? Where are you? What do you do? What does your everyday life look like? Have this clear vision in your head. Second, start something new. Anything you've been postponing for years, this is the year to try. Third, leave what drains you. Jobs, relationships, obligations that constantly exhaust you. And fourth, learn to choose yourself. I've seen so many people overload themselves with things they hate and then wonder why life feels hard and heavy. And I've done this myself. I once chose a path I knew wasn't mine. I was scared, I listened to other people, instead of listening to myself, and the next years were very miserable. So 2026 asks you to choose carefully and to choose well, to listen to your heart. To be able to choose well, you need to understand yourself, and that's where numerology is so powerful. It helps you see and understand yourself clearly without guessing. Okay, let's go through the numbers now. I'm gonna give you a breakdown of each number from 1 to 9. If you got 9, 2026 is about completion. This is the end of a 9-year cycle. Very often in a 9-year, people receive results for what they've been doing for a long time. For example, a marriage, a child, career recognition. And at the same time, everything unnecessary starts leaving. Old roles, old relationships, old ways of living. And the main task here is not to hold on to what is clearly over. If you ignore yourself in a 9-year, this energy can show up through conflicts, unexpected situations with people, emotional overflow, not because something is wrong with you, but because you're trying to stay in something that has already ended internally. 9 doesn't ask you to destroy everything aggressively, but it also doesn't support pretending. This is a year where many relationships, jobs, and identities end. You may want more solitude, more space, less emotional noise, and this is normal. The good side of a 9-year is always the same. It helps you leave the old chapter with dignity, without drama, without guilt. And the main advice for you is super simple. If something clearly feels finished, let it go. You don't need to fight. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You just close the door, and by doing that, you open space for the next chapter. If you got number 8, 2026 is a year of money, career, and responsibility. 8 is about what you build and how clean that foundation is. I've worked with many people who entered an 8 year thinking, finally, money year, I'll just push harder. And some of them really did grow fast. Career went up, income increased, status changed. But I've also seen the other side, because 8 is always about cause and effect. What you give, you get back. What you avoid comes back too. That is why in an 8 year, life often brings up topics you didn't fully close before, like debts, legal things, unclear agreements, financial chaos, not to punish you, but to clean the system. If you ignore this part, 8 becomes heavy. If you face it, 8 becomes very rewarding. One thing I notice very often with people in an 8 year is that they suddenly understand they can't build their life on someone else's expectations, meaning someone else's goals, someone else's idea of success, someone else's role. 8 doesn't like when you pretend. It supports you when you do your real calling. Very often people in 8 year change direction slightly. They stop chasing random opportunities. They choose something more focused, more mature, and more aligned. Another important thing about 8 is scale. This is not the year to play small, but it's also not the year for fast, chaotic money. 8 doesn't like shortcuts. It doesn't like easy money. Anything that comes through manipulation or dishonesty usually comes back with consequences. I've seen people in an 8 year lose money exactly where they tried to cheat the system. And I've seen people receive big opportunities, then they chose to do things properly, even if it felt slower. So if you're in an 8th year, your questions should sound like this. Is what I'm doing sustainable? Can this live for years? Am I proud of how I earn my money? Another big theme of 8 is responsibility. In 2026, you may feel like you're carrying more weight, more people depend on you, more decisions are on your shoulders. And this can feel heavy, but it's also a sign of growth. Very often in a good 8th year, people say things like, I finally feel like an adult. I finally trust myself. I know what I'm capable of. And that's the best version of 8. So the main advice for you, if you're in a personal year 8, build something real. Clean what's unfinished and choose integrity over shortcuts. Think long-term, and if you do this, 8 can give you not just money, but confidence, stability, and a sense that you're standing on a solid ground. If you got number 7, 2026 is a very inward year for you. This is not a loud year, not a fast-paced year, and definitely not a year for rushing big external changes. 7 is about slowing down internally. I see this year very often with people who suddenly feel like they need more space, less noise, less talking, less explaining themselves to others. People in a 7 year often say things like, I just want to be alone for a bit, I don't want to answer messages and calls, I feel like I need to figure things out inside. And this doesn't mean something is wrong. It means your attention is turning inward. And 7 is a year of questions. Not questions you ask other people, but questions you ask yourself. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What actually matters to me? Where am I going and why? Very often in a 7 year, people become more sensitive. They feel tired of surface level conversations. They may feel irritated with people more easily, and this is where many mistakes happen. Because when you feel irritated, it's very easy to think that this relationship is wrong, this job is wrong, these people are wrong, they're not good for me. But most of the time in a 7 year, it's not about others. It's about you needing space. That is why I always say, don't rush into breakups or big emotional decisions in a 7 year. You can take distance, you can travel alone, you can be quieter, you can say, I need time, but try not to burn bridges while you're still processing. 7 also has a very strong connection to travel and solitude. And I've seen many people in a 7 year suddenly wanting to go to the mountains, the ocean, nature, or places where they don't know anyone. And that's totally fine. 7 helps you reconnect with yourself without external roles, without expectations, without performing for anyone. And another big theme of 7 is balance between material and inner life. Some people enter a 7 year completely exhausted from chasing money, status, results, and in 2026 they may feel a strong desire to step back, slow down, and rethink priorities. Others enter a 7 year very airy, dreaming, searching, but avoiding responsibility. For them, 7 can gently push them to ground ideas into reality. So the task here is balance, not disappearing from life, but also not forcing yourself to perform when your system is asking for silence. The best way to move through a 7 year is to give yourself permission to think, to observe, to learn, and to spend time alone without guilt. This is a great year for study, therapy, self-reflection, spiritual practices, but only those that feel grounding, not overwhelming. If you allow yourself to slow down and listen, 7 gives clarity. Not loud answers, but very honest ones. And usually after a well-lived 7 year, people say, I see myself much more clearly now. I know what I want and what I don't want. And that is the gift of 7. If you got number 6, 2026 is a year of relationships, family, and responsibility for the people you love. But 6 is not just about romance or beautiful love stories. 6 is about how you treat yourself inside relationships. Very often, people in a 6 year start noticing things they ignored before, where they stay silent instead of speaking, where they agree instead of choosing themselves, where they give more than they receive. And I see this a lot with my clients. From the outside, everything can look perfect. An amazing relationship, a family, a nice picture. But inside, a person feels exhausted, unheard, unseen, unchosen. And 6 doesn't let you ignore this anymore. This year shows you very clearly where you betray yourself for the sake of peace, where you tolerate something just to avoid conflict, where you carry responsibility that is not fully yours. And some people in a 6 year meet a very strong karmic partner, someone who touches their deepest boundaries. And the question is not, will this relationship happen? The real question is, will I lose myself in it or not? So 6 teaches you that love doesn't mean sacrifice at any cost. Love starts with respect, including respect for yourself. A year 6 is also about family in a broader sense, parents, children, relatives. Old family patterns can come up, expectations, unspoken rules, and again, the lesson is the same. Where do you choose yourself and where do you disappear? 6 is also a very physical, earthly year. People in a 6 year often want to make their home more beautiful, change their style, take better care of their body, feel more comfortable in their own skin. And which is great, because when your outer space feels harmonious, your inner space follows. But there is also a shadow side of 6. Some people stay in situations that are clearly unhealthy because it is family, because it's love, because it's complicated. And 6 does not support this. It doesn't push you to destroy everything immediately, but it does ask you to be honest. If a relationship requires you to constantly ignore yourself, this year will make that very uncomfortable. So the main advice for you in a personal year 6 is this. Learn to choose yourself in close relationships, not instead of love, but as the foundation of it. Take care of your body, your energy, and your emotional boundaries. And when you move through this year like that, what comes from it is deep, warm, stable love. Not dependency, not drama, but a feeling of home with others and with yourself. If you got number 5, 2026 is a year of change, movement, new people, new environments. My 2025 was a year 5 for me, and looking back, it explains a lot. That was the year when I started a completely new direction, a new movement, elevated bass music. I also traveled a lot. I went to Bali, the Philippines, England, Scotland, Russia. I changed teachers, mentors, finished many different courses. I studied constantly. And that's exactly what 5 does. It pushes you to expand through experience. 5 is one of the best years for learning, but not necessarily in linear academic way. It's learning through life, through people, through trying things and seeing how they actually feel. And now when people come to me with the personal year 5, they often say the same thing. Like, I feel like my life is about to flip, but I don't know how. And that is very typical for a 5. In a personal year 5, people often change their circle completely. They move to another city or country. They start traveling more than ever. They get into unexpected relationships. Sometimes those relationships are short, sometimes they're messy, sometimes they don't last, and that's okay. They still matter. They shift something inside you. And from the outside, a 5-year rarely looks stable. But inside, it is doing something very important. It's expanding you. 5 doesn't usually create from structure. It creates from experience. And that's exactly how my new project was born. It didn't come from planning for hours. It came in meditation. I heard the name. I saw the direction. I felt what I was supposed to do. And that's very 5 energy. But 5 also has another side. And this is where many people struggle. Some people enter a 5-year and think, I want stability. I want everything to calm down. But life still brings change, and sometimes without joy. Because when you resist 5, it turns into chaos instead of expansion. That's why the main rule for you, if you're in a personal year 5, is to say yes to movement. Say yes to new experiences. Say yes to opportunities. And definitely say yes to learning. But at the same time, you need grounding. 5 gives freedom, but without proper grounding, that freedom can feel overwhelming. So it's very important to have small anchors in your day, like simple routines, movement for your body, morning or evening rituals. For example, for me, grounding is very physical. I start every morning with a glass of warm water with a pinch of sea salt and lemon, and I go for a walk pretty much every single day, and I go to gym 3 times a week. That brings me back into my body. You might have your own version: exercise, journaling, reading before bed, meditation, something simple and consistent. Because when you allow change but keep your nervous system supported, 5 becomes one of the most exciting energy you can experience. And if you live this year consciously, 2026 can become one of the best and most interesting years of your life. A year where you meet people who change your perspective, and a year where you discover parts of yourself you didn't even know existed. Very often after a strong 5-year, people say that they're not the same person anymore. And I can definitely say that about myself now. I am not the same person I was at the beginning of my 5-year. If you got number 4, 2026 is a year of structure, stability, and foundation. 4 is not about restriction, like many people think. It's about support. 4 is the year where life asks you a very simple question. What are you standing on? Very often people in the 4-year feel a strong desire to put things in order. This is the year where unfinished things come back for closure. Documents, agreements, housing questions, work structure, daily routine. And if you work with this energy consciously, 4 can give you a very strong sense of safety. I see this a lot with clients. People in the year 4 often buy or move into a new home, finally stabilize their income, get a promotion or a more responsible position, build something that works consistently and not randomly. 4 is about turning effort into something reliable. This is also a year where your body asks for care. Sleep, regular meals, movement that supports you and not exhausts you. Because 4 is deeply connected to the physical world. And there is also a shadow side of 4, and it's important to talk about it. If you resist structure, 4 becomes heavy. Life starts to feel slow, blocked. Problems with money, health, or systems can appear. Not as punishment, but as a signal that something in your foundation is unstable. 4 does not like chaos. It doesn't like living day by day without support. And especially in 2026, 4 asks you to stop relying only on inspiration. This is not the year to work in bursts, 1 month active, 1 month disappearing. It's the year to build something steady. And very often people with the year 4 realize that they need a clear schedule, predictable income streams, and boundaries with work and rest. And this doesn't kill your creativity. It actually frees it. 4 also shows up strongly in family and partnership themes. For men, a 4 year often brings responsibility, becoming a father, building a home, being a protector and provider. And for women, 4 often attracts stability from the outside, reliable partners, mentors, or authority figures, but only if you allow yourself to soften and stop carrying everything alone. And this part is important. 4 does not support constant struggle. It supports cooperation. The main lesson of a personal year 4 is simple. Build something you can rely on in work, in money, in your body, in your everyday life. Because when your foundation is solid, everything else becomes easier. 4 doesn't give fast results, but what it gives lasts. If you got number 3, 2026 is a year of emotional movement, creativity, and growth. But not in a light, playful way only. 3 goes deep. This is a year where emotions become louder to show you what's alive inside. Very often, people in the year 3 feel like they're on an emotional swing. One moment inspired, excited, full of ideas, and the next tired, sensitive, overwhelmed. And this is normal for 3. 3 is a year where feelings can no longer be ignored. What you suppress comes up, and what you've been holding inside asks to be expressed. This is why 3 is so strongly connected to creativity. Not creativity as a hobby, but creativity as expression. People in a 3 year often feel a desire to start a creative project, speak more openly, share their voice, create something new. It could be a brand, a product, a vision, and very often this creation is deeply personal. 3 is also strongly connected to feminine energy, the body, and hormones. This is a year where your body speaks louder, especially for women. If you ignore rest, emotions, or physical needs, 3 can show up through mood swings, exhaustion, or hormonal imbalance. But if you listen, 3 becomes very nourishing. Another big theme of 3 is the motherline. Relationships with your mother, your role as a mother, or your relationship with feminine figures in your life. Old patterns can come up here. Competition, comparison, unspoken tension. And this is not to create conflict, but to bring awareness. 3 asks, how do you relate to other women? How do you support or compete? How do you treat yourself when you're emotional? 3 is also a year where communication matters a lot. What you say, how you say it, and what you don't say at all. Unspoken emotions tend to create misunderstandings. That's why honesty, especially emotional honesty, is very important in a 3 year. And now there is also a shadow side. If you avoid responsibility and grounding, 3 can turn into chaos. Too many emotions, too many ideas, no direction. That's why balance is key. The best way to live through a 3 year is to allow emotions, but not drown in them. Create something, but stay connected to reality. Care for your body, especially your hormonal and emotional balance. And the main advice for you in a personal year 3 is to express what's inside you. Don't suppress it. But also don't let emotions run your entire life. When 3 is lived consciously, it brings creativity, joy, fertility, literally and metaphorically. New projects, new life, new emotional depth, and very often after a strong year 3, people say things like, I feel more alive, I feel more like myself. And that's the gift of a personal year 3. If you got number 2, 2026 is a year of connection, sensitivity, and partnership. But not in a romantic movie way. 2 is much more subtle than that. This is a year where other people matter more, but the main lesson is not about them. It's about you inside connection. Very often in a 2 year, people become more sensitive. They start to feel things deeper. They notice tones, pauses, energy between words. You may feel more vulnerable than usual, more open, more affected by what others say or do. And this is not weakness. This is awareness. 2 is the year where relationships come into focus. Romantic partnerships, close connections, emotional bonds. For many people, this is a year when a relationship begins, an important emotional bond forms, or an existing relationship goes to a deeper level. But here's the key thing about 2. 2 is not about losing yourself in another person. Very often, people with a 2 year face situations where they feel tempted to dissolve into someone else's life, to adjust too much, to please, to become smaller to keep the connection. And this is exactly the test. The lesson of 2 is emotional independence inside closeness. Can you be connected without disappearing? Can you love without needing approval? Can you be close without losing your center? I've seen this so many times with clients. In a 2 year, people attract mirrors. Partners who reflect their patterns, their fears of being alone, their fear of not being chosen. And these situations are not here to hurt you. They're here to show you where you give your power away. 2 also teaches patience. This is not a year of pushing, not a year of forcing outcomes. If you try to control relationships in a year 2, things become tense. But if you allow things to unfold naturally, that's where magic happens and connections deepen in a very organic way. Another important theme of 2 is emotional boundaries. Learning when to say yes and when to say no gently without guilt. Learning to listen, but also to speak. So the main advice for you in a personal year 2 is this. Stay open to connection, but don't abandon yourself to keep it. Let relationships grow, but don't rush them. Listen deeply to others and to yourself. And when two is lived consciously, it brings calm, supportive, emotionally safe relationships where you don't have to prove anything, just quiet closeness and emotional safety, a feeling of being seen without having to disappear. If you got number 1, I want you to listen very carefully. 2026 itself carries the energy of 1. It's a global year of new beginnings. And if your personal year is also 1, this energy is doubled for you. This is not a background year. This is not a wait and see year. This is a year where life puts you right in the front. Things move faster. Your choices matter more. And staying the same won't really be an option anymore. 1 is the start of a 9-year cycle. It's the year where a new direction appears. Sometimes clearly, sometimes quietly, and very often people in a 1 year feel an internal push to move forward, not because everything is perfect, but because staying where they are no longer works. This is a year where ideas come quickly, new plans, new opportunities, new invitations. And the key thing about 1 is that you don't always need to initiate. In a 1 year, life often brings chances to you first. A conversation, an offer, a moment where you suddenly see a different path, and your task is to respond, to say yes when something feels aligned, to move when you feel that inner clarity. And 1 is about personal responsibility. No one else can decide for you anymore. No one else can choose your direction. And this can feel both exciting and uncomfortable because 1 tests your relationship with control. If you try to do everything alone, to manage everything yourself, to carry all responsibility without support, 1 becomes exhausting. But if you allow yourself to delegate, to trust others, to accept help, this year opens doors very quickly. And another important theme of 1 is self-leadership. This is a year where you may naturally step into a more visible role. People listen to you more. They follow your lead. Not because you're louder, but because you're clearer. 1 doesn't require force, it requires direction. This is also a year of movement and action, but not chaotic action. Every step you take in a 1 year sets the tone for the next 9 years. That's why clarity matters so much here. And the main advice for you in a personal year 1 is very simple. Be honest about what you want, respond to opportunities that feel aligned, and move forward, even if you don't see the whole picture yet. You don't need to know every single step. You just need to take the first one. And when 1 is lived consciously, it gives confidence, momentum, a sense that you're finally moving in your own direction. And very often people say at the end of the strong 1 year, things like, this is where my new life started. And that's the power of 1. Before we finish, I want to add one more important layer to 2026. Starting February 17, we officially enter the year of the fire horse. And this energy actually matches the vibration of number 1 really well. The horse is about movement, freedom, speed, independence. It doesn't like being controlled. It doesn't like standing still. and it doesn't wait for permission. Fire horse energy pushes forward. It wants action. It wants courage. It wants you to move in your own direction. And that is why 2026 feels so charged. It's not a passive year. It's a year that supports bold choices, new paths, and personal leadership. And the more honest you are with yourself about what you want, the easier it is to work with this energy instead of fighting it. Now, if you want to go a little deeper, I have a free guide about personal year numbers for you. If you want that extra clarity and more details, you can download it. I've attached the link in the description. And if you want a personal forecast for 2026, you can order my personal year reading. It's a PDF with detailed guidance for your entire year, month by month, plus an audio explanation from me, where I walk you through the energy of your year and give you personal recommendations. All the links are below. 2026 is a powerful year, a year of movement, a year of choice, and the way you enter it really matters. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.